We are in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Yeah, they are doing a lot of building here on the south side, on the other side of the river. But there's still some really cool old sections of downtown that are pretty neat. Unfortunately, the bridge that goes over the river is closed. So, man, this bridge here is out ahead. But look at these cool old buildings right here. And there's more. This was like a really underdeveloped area for a long time. It looked really old. So I don't know what's going on in this firehouse building. Well, let's take a look in the window, see if we can see anything. And not a whole lot in there. Not a whole lot in there at all. Just, I see a bike. I see a couch. Somebody living there? There's a jacuzzi in there. And downtown is basically on the other side there. But look at this place. Let's get a better shot of this without the sun, shall we? Look at this. Is this cool or what? It says Hook and Ladder for Brooklyn. And then there is a little plaque. It's on the Register of Historic Places. Right there. 1868. Wow. Very cool. Let's take a look in this window. I see dog food. Ooh, look at the stairs right there. I think people are living here. I think this is a residence. Yeah, look at that. Is that cool? That's such a cool building. All right. Let's get back in the car. Yeah, they are doing a lot of development here on the south side of Oshkosh. That big building right there is gone up. This area, like I said, over the years has not been looking the best or in the best of shape. Sorry about the sun, folks. I can't do much about that. But there's another old section of that's still here. See that cool sign right there on the left? And then this little area here, this is a really old block of buildings right here. I'm going to swing around and drive so the sun's not in our eyes. You know, they even put an arena down over here. I've shown that before in some videos. It's coming up right over here. Coming up on the left side here now that you can probably see it better, is that old block that's left. Yeah, they tore down a lot of stuff. There was a huge old factory where that arena was. See these there was a lot of this stuff, old brick buildings. It just looked really, really old on this side of town. And boy, they're doing a lot of stuff. There's a particular address that I'm going to be heading to that has some very interesting history behind it. There's the bridge out again. And we're coming past that cool old Hook and Ladder building, that old firehouse. You know, if the crazy thing is, if I would have gone straight over that bridge, I never would have saw that. There's a lot of really old buildings on this side of town still, but there's been a lot of improvement, a lot of empty lots. They've done a lot here. I don't remember what river this is. Fox River. Okay. I was going to say Fox River at the beginning of my episode, but I wasn't sure if this was it or not. There's the old Grand Theater. We should turn by the Grand Theater. Look at that old hotel. Holy cow, that's old. It's called the Town Motel. Look at that. It's called the Town Motel. It's even got an old sign still. I'm guessing that place has just got like apartments now. They probably rent them out. A lot of cool buildings down here in downtown Oshkosh. Right here. This is a cool little building right here. And then coming up here on the other side, the Grand. Very cool. And there it is, the Grand. The Grand Opera House. Haunted by one Percy Keene. Whether Percy still haunts the building, I don't know. What's that cool building right there, straight ahead? The library? Wow, that's a cool looking library, I'll tell you that much. Holy cow, I never noticed that before. That is one cool library looking right there. There's the New Moon. The New Moon's supposed to be haunted too, I think. That's been there forever. Oh, no parking there. House of Heroes. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there's a spot right there. Camera Casino. Camera Casino. There's a cinema. It says movies to return in January. I don't know. All right, we got to find this place. This is the U.S. Bank building on North Main Street, the 100 block of North Main Street in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Now, back in the 1900s, the early 1900s, the Continental Clothing Store, which was located at 125, 127 North Main, which would have been on this block, they used to sell clothing and hats and the latest fashions. The Continental began business in 1892 as a men's clothing store chain owned by Sam Stern of Chicago. He actually had a nephew of his work there at the store from 1900 to 1905. That gentleman's name was Carl Lemley. That name may sound familiar, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So he managed the store from 1900 until he was fired in 1905 due to lost revenue during a Thanksgiving Day promotion known as the Turkey Shoot. The store was eventually sold to a Frank Steckbauer and Charles Roder in 1929, and they managed it locally. The store remained in those two families until it closed on January 1st, 1977. Now, I have no idea when this block was taken out and it became the U.S. Bank building. For those of you who are kind of wondering, who was Carl Lemley? And why does that name kind of ring a bell? In 1912, actually was May 31st, 1912, this gentleman had an independent moving pictures company who decided to come here and make a promotional movie on Oshkosh. It's actually on YouTube. You can look at it on YouTube. I will post a link to it in the description below. He left Oshkosh, Carl Lemley, in 1906 to operate two Nickelodeon movie houses in Milwaukee. In 1909, he moved to New York, and that's when he started the independent moving pictures company. He would later then move to Hollywood and change its name to Universal Studios. He was the founder of what is now Universal Studios, which I find very, very cool. The gentleman who founded Universal Studios ran a clothing store here in little old Oshkosh, Wisconsin for 5 years. I did try to find out where he lived if he maybe lived upstairs or where he lived here in Oshkosh, I could not find an address. So from 1892 to 1977, on this particular parcel of land stood the Continental Clothing Store that was run for 5 years by Carl Laemmle, the founder of Universal Studios. That is crazy, hey? Carl Laemmle, the founder of Universal Studios, lived here in Oshkosh for 5 years and managed a clothing store. You know, I wonder how many times he might have went to the Grand Opera House to see something, if that had any influence on what made him decide to get into the line of work that he later got into. Founding Universal Studios. Now, you know, he passed it down to his son, Carl Jr., and that's when they started doing, like, well, when Carl Laemmle was in charge, that was like the 20s. That's when they were doing like Phantom of the Opera, The Man Who Laughs, stuff like that. But once Carl Jr. took over the company, that's when they got the classic monsters: Frankenstein, Dracula, the Invisible Man. Well, not the Invisible Man, but like Frankenstein, Dracula. So yeah, that, you know, when Carl Jr. took over, that's when they did the Universal Classics monsters, and that ran until they did a movie called Showboat. And then when Showboat, something to do with financing, and they had to sell the company and left Universal. But if it wasn't for them, the Laemmles, you wouldn't have Dracula, you wouldn't have Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein. Very interesting piece of history here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, that I don't even know if a lot of people even know about. That's going to do it for this episode of Road Trips with Yogi, folks. Thanks for coming along to this little Oshkosh adventure. Please like, comment, subscribe. Liking, please give it a thumbs up, folks, if you enjoyed this video. That is so important to YouTube's algorithm, and that would help me out. So if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. From Oshkosh, Wisconsin, this is Yogi. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, be good to each other. Thanks for coming along with me. I'm out of here.